تبارك الذي نزل الفرقان على عبده ليكون للعالمين نذيرا.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Respected viewers, let us continue and empower ourselves by learning the proper recitation of the Quran, which is the second right of the Quran. This is the holy month of Ramadan. Let's try to come closer towards the proper haqq, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا, the art of recitation of the Quran. The objective for us is that to convince that the Quran is easy to recite, to give encouragement, to make further learning easy for everyone. The style that will be presented is 20-minute session. Each session will have the rule of tajweed and an example, connecting to understanding, and learning tips and secrets of reciting the Quran will be given. We will begin very briefly with a list of topics that we will cover, inshaAllah. First, we'll look at the word of Allah, lafzul jalala, and the rule of lam. Secondly, we will look at the rule of ra. Third, we will look at the exits. Fourth, we will look at attributes. Fifth, mad, mudud in Arabic, rule of mim, and rule of noon sakina and tanween, and finally, rules of stopping and starting. A learning tip: the one who practices more will get more even if he or she commits mistake. This is a very important aspect. I listen, I forget. If you're just listening to me, it might so happen that you might forget. I see, I remember. Now, if you see visually, you will be able to recall and remember something. And when you practice, you learn. And that is what we'll do, inshaAllah, in this episode. We'll begin to practice, therefore, learning the proper recitation of the Quran. And the last one is, I teach, I master. I tell all my respected viewers that if you want to really learn the proper recitation of the Quran, try to start teaching the Quran to your friends, family. Start from your family and then expand that circle, inshaAllah. We have covered خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَ. The best amongst you is the one who learns the Quran and teaches it to others. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Let us try to purify our intention. It is solely for the purpose of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to boast, not to gain pride, but solely to gain the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is amongst us the best person? أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. The best one is the one who has the proper knowledge of the Quran, who learns it, recites it, understands it, and teaches it to others. Let us try to go to that level. Let us make a dua, Rabbi zidni ilma, oh my Lord, increase me in knowledge. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps increasing our knowledge only and only if we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. And when the worshipper or the slave asks of me, tell him that I'm very close to him, closer to his jugular vein. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inviting us to make this beautiful dua. Let us start with rule number 1, the rules of reading lam, lafzul jalala. Rule number 1, you have the word Allah. Now, when do we say Allah and when do we say Allah? First, you have to understand that in Arabic, a sound is known as fatha, e sound is known as kasra, and u sound is known as dhamma. I would advise all my respected viewers to take a sheet of paper and a pen and try to take some notes and try to follow these notes on a later time and try to revise them and try to practice these in your recitation, inshallah. Fatha, kasra, dhamma. All these three are called as harakat. Now, whenever we see that there is lam shadda, whenever you have lam and tajdeed, before it or after it, in our example, I have made a column where it says thick and flat. So you have lam and you have shadda on it. And before it, for example, huwa Allah. On waw, we have a fatha. So therefore we are going to say it thick. Not huwa Allah, but huwa Allah. Allah. On hamza, there is fatha. Now mind you, whenever there is a fatha, kasra, dhamma on a alif, that becomes a hamza. Its name changes to hamza. So in my talk, I'll keep using hamza, and it means that we are referring to the alif with fatha, kasra and dhamma. Nasrullah, إذا جاء Nasrullah or إذا جاء Nasrullah. Ra has dhamma, and then after that you have lam with tashdid, and this covers the aspect of reciting the word lafzul jalala, Allah, mufakham, thick. We come to the next aspect, which is reciting it thin. Very simple. Whenever we have a kasra before lam shadda, we recite it thin. Bismillah, not Bismillah. That concludes our first rule. And if you take a look at the slide, this aspect, both the thick and the thin, have been repeated in the Quran 2,709 times. And alhamdulillah, you have learned the proper pronunciation of both Allah and Bismillah. Inshallah, you have saved yourself from pronouncing or making 2,709 mistakes. Alhamdulillah. Mistakes of rule number 1 in our daily practice. We sometimes make in our salah, when we say Allahu Akbar, we say Allahu Akbar, which is the proper one. In calling the adhan, we do not say Allahu Akbar. We say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. It sounds much better. But even if the tone is proper and beautiful, if we do not say the word lafzul jalala with thickness, the beauty goes away. For example, you say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. It goes away. That beauty goes away. But if you come to the level where you recite with tafkhim, you say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. It definitely gives that impact and proper power. In recitation of our surahs and in the Quran, approximately 2 times per page the word of Allah has come. Alhamdulillah. We come to the next rule, which is the rules of reciting ra. Mind you, this rule of ra, in most of the tajweed books and most of the teachers would teach you ra after a long period of time, after learning and sitting with the sheikh or the teacher. But I've kept rules of reading ra after the first rule, because let us try to practice something that some people claim difficult, but let me try to share with you something that is really easy. And with this table, you'll be able to learn the proper recitation of ra. Very simple. We have, again, thick and flat. Whenever you have a fatha or a dhamma, the ra has to be recited thick. For example, Ar-Rahman. You don't say Ar-Rahman, you say Ar-Rahman. You have Rusul. You don't say Rusul, you say Rusul. You have Ghafoor. You don't say Ghafoor, you say Ghafoor. The next, to say it flat, you don't say Risal, you say Risalat. Bi'rin, no, Bi'rin, or if you want to stop, Bi'r. We go to the second, Akbar. Whenever you have ra sakin, you have sukun on ra, akbaru, the ra will be mufakham, it will be thick. Now if you have ra in the middle of the word, for example, mursal, don't say mursal, ra has to be thick. The common practice to learn this is try to break the words and the letters individually. For example, for some people, the tongue might not be able to turn quickly. So say mu, ra, mur, sal, mur, sal. Now try to practice that a few times. Say mur, sal. So ma is flat, ra is thick, sin is flat, and lam is flat. The only thing that is thick is ra. Mursal. The sooner you finish ra, tafkhim, jump to flat, and that is how you can practice.